There comes a point when I don't have any more words, descriptions, or things to tell you. I am Dan Kingerski on the Pittsburgh Hockey Now, the National Hockey Now YouTube channel. We're doing straight Penguins Q&A tonight. If the Penguins lose 5-4 in overtime to the New York Islanders here at PPG Paints Arena, that is the Penguins' fifth loss in 6 games. They are 1-4-1 officially. The 6 most important games, the 6 games that would really determine their future and direction as we head to the NHL trade deadline, and they have 1 win. I think that probably tells you everything you need to know. Let's go over the game just a little bit. I thought the effort was just so uneven in the first 40 minutes. You really saw the Penguins' flaws up close and personal. You saw some good efforts. You saw some solid efforts, and yet you saw a cavalcade of mistakes. Look, even Marcus Pettersson was burned on the Brock Nelson goal. It does happen. Pettersson's owed a few of those in credit as Nelson danced past Karlsson, kind of got past Pettersson, the backhand past Nedeljkovic. But the mistakes, Ryan Graves trying to outskate a forechecker on his hip, giving up the puck instead of moving it forward off the glass, out of the zone, backing it up, any number of options, he gives it up. Islanders put it in the net. The Penguins' power play, flat-footed as Jarry banging the paddle as the time runs out. Matthew Barzal, breakaway goal. It's those sorts of goofy things. Sorry, I dropped all of your questions here. It's those sloppy, continued mistakes that have just killed the Penguins. There's no two ways about it. How can a team with that much talent, once again on Tuesday, the sloppiness equaled the good, the lax equaled the desperation, and they lose in overtime. They fall further behind in the playoff race, giving the Islanders 2 points. So the Islanders actually gained ground, even if the Penguins did pick up a point on Philadelphia and Detroit. The Islanders continue to kind of put a little bit of distance between them as well. Let's get right to the Q&A. First one from Bill Peduto. I think I voted for that guy twice in one election. He asks if the Penguins should move players from spots such as Malkin to the wing, O'Connor to center. Bill, I think I've been kind of subtly, or if not so subtly, going that direction with Evgeny Malkin now for a couple of months. I thought Elias Lindholm was actually the guy that would have made that transition perfect, both for the Penguins and for Malkin. I do think without Jake Gensel in the lineup, now is a perfect opportunity to try Malkin on the left wing with Crosby for significant time. I think this is the ideal time. I don't know about O'Connor at center. I mean, look, I go to the third period against the Islanders for this question, though. We saw a resurgent of Evgeny Malkin. Like, that's the Malkin the Penguins need. That's the Drew O'Connor the Penguins need. That's the Lars Eller. That's the Valtteri Puustinen. Those 4 players especially, I thought, had very good third periods. They really, the 4 of them picked up the team. I think that's possible. I generally wonder if Malkin is kind of coming to that end. And I have some Malkin quotes that I haven't found time to really fit into a bigger story. I've been letting them digest a couple of things he's just said off the cuff over the last couple of days with Yager in town that really made me wonder where Malkin is. But he had a very good game Tuesday. Aggressive on the forecheck. He even had a little bit of hop getting in here. In fact, I'm sitting right in the corner where, he took a couple of pucks away and they got them to the net. O'Connor, I thought, set up Marcus Pettersson, but O'Connor gets the goal by putting Anders Lee in a position to defend, banks it in. You get the idea. But, yeah, I do think now is a very good time to experiment with Malkin. JW says, Malkin is washed up. I say, JW, did you actually watch the game on Tuesday? See, this is what drives me nuts about you all. You get an opinion, and then you stick to it in the face of contrasting evidence. And you're not going to hear me when I say that. You're just going to get mad and tell me I'm wrong again. I hear you. Malkin has not been good. He struggled to put up goals, 2 goals in 16 or 2 goals in 18 games, whatever it is. I get all of that. But when you can't flame Malkin after the way he played on Tuesday. I just don't know how you go there. So we're going to cross that one off. Matt says, hey, nothing good lasts forever. I hope Penguins fans can appreciate the good times. It's an interesting post-game. I'm going to cover the day-to-day. And I suppose I would like to see more fans take a breath and add more context. Maybe big picture like Matt is going. But it has been brutal on social media. I won't lie. I've been blamed for everything from signing Jari to the Penguins' losses. I'm too homer. I'm not adversarial, even though Mike Sullivan kind of gives me a little gruff on Tuesday for my question. I stumped Lars Eller. I shouldn't say I stumped Lars Eller. I put the question to Lars Eller in kind of a fastball sort of way. He long hems and haws and pauses, and that's a kind of a first for Eller. So, we do hold these guys. I think we hold them accountable. We don't have to be dicks about it. Okay? I mean, do you want me to walk in there and flip chairs and tables? What are you guys doing? Why didn't you do this? That's not how this job is done by anybody at any point in its 150-year history. It's just not how it rolls. Joe wasn't, who also I know comments on the PHN website too. Joe says, okay, you said the Penguins had to win all 3 in regulation. What now? What do you do if you're Kyle Dubas? Well, we're going to find out on Wednesday, by the way, a bit more about what Kyle Dubas is thinking. I know what I would be trying to do. I would be trying to get out from under as many contracts as I possibly could. I hate to start throwing players under the bus. That's not really my job. I will tell you, obviously, at 52, 53 games, Ryan Graves is still struggling to fit in. I didn't like his game again on Tuesday. Riley Smith, obviously, is showing some signs of life, but again, you want more from a $5.5 million guy. He has, 3 goals in 30-some-odd games. I'd be trying to get out from under contracts and stockpile cash like a hoarder, like a doomsday prepper for July 1st. Because if these Penguins are going to give Sidney Crosby one more shot, one more bite at this apple, it's not going to be with the team you see around him right now. And they're not going to get there with trades. They're not going to be able to acquire people for what they've got without giving up their future. So I would be essentially, I think at this point, I'm looking to July 1st for a massive reload. I'm going Craig Patrick in 2005 and hoping for better results. For those of you too young, Craig Patrick signed a bunch of free agents leading to the 2005-06 season, which had completely cratered. But, for the first time, the Penguins were competitive financially, and they went for broke on, unfortunately, a bunch of guys who didn't work, like Ziggy Palffy and Jocelyn Thibault and John LeClaire. Who else can I think? Oh, but they did get Sergei Gonchar out of that deal, or out of that free agent shopping spree. But I would amass money, and I would say after the trade deadline, okay, we've got money. Agents, I want you to call me at 12:01 July 1 and just walk out. That's kind of what I would do. But we'll see what Kyle Dubas is thinking. Bobby says the power play stinks, overtime stinks. Change the suits behind the bench. Do you think Mike Sullivan was telling Chris Letang not to shoot the puck? Do you think Mike Sullivan told Evgeny Malkin, Erik Karlsson, Brian Rust not to take shots? Like, the emotion, I think, gets the best of everybody, and I'm just trying to keep everything in a bit of a real world sense here. I'm going to talk a bit about Mike Sullivan this week as well, but the power play failures continuing. I don't know if I've ever seen a coach fired over the power play. I mean, and watching how the Penguins responded on Tuesday, I don't think you can say that they're not playing hard, they're not playing for each other. They're just a bad mix of players. They don't have defensemen. Listen, Bobby, if anything, this does fall on Kyle Dubas for the blue line construction. The Penguins are really playing with 3 or sometimes 4 legit NHL quality defensemen. That's, I thought P.O. Joseph had a solid night on Tuesday. I think that's where he wants to be. I don't think he wants to be the high-flying defenseman that he could be. I don't think he wants to be the up-and-down 200-foot guy. I think he wants to be about a 150-foot guy. So from that standpoint, he allowed Letang to do what Letang does. It was a solid game. He had a couple of turnovers in the first period. That's generally the way he does when he gets back in the lineup. His first periods are shaky, and that was the case Tuesday. But when you just look at the number of times Chad Ruedel has to bounce it off the wall or the glass without being able to skate it up or make a good outlet pass, Ryan Graves just kind of zigging when he should zag so often. The Penguins are really struggling to put together a blue line, and so when Marcus Pettersson makes a mistake, it's so much more magnified because the other guys really don't. He's not getting a lot of help around him in that sense, or not enough help in that sense. Jake, this is the only trade question I'm going to do in the Q&A tonight. Jake says, Lars Eller out at the deadline. That's a very interesting proposition. I probably should really dive into that in depth in writing. I suppose it depends what the offer is. He would be available. I certainly wouldn't give him up cheaply. I wouldn't sell him off. He doesn't make too much money. You would have to spend you'd have to spend as much or more this summer to replace what Lars Eller is giving you. I'd like to see Lars Eller be given maybe a greater role within the team structure, but maybe that happens organically. I like Eller's gravitas. I like his responsibility, and he is generating chances. I thought he and Puustinen had something going. Those guys answered the bell on Tuesday, and I think that's important to keep in mind. Which players answered the bell and which guys didn't. Jim Stripsky, how does this team make so many mistakes over and over and over? Jim, this will be our final question tonight, and the answer is I have absolutely no idea. It's got to be absolutely frustrating as anything for the coaches. I mean, look, Mike Sullivan's job is starting to get on the line here. There's no question about that. That seat's getting a little bit warm. It has to, right? When you lose 5 of 6, 1-4-1, in your last 6 games, the most important games of the season, the coach will come under scrutiny. But the same players, same mistakes. It is as inexplicable to me as anything. I've never quite seen anything like it. Players, I mean, look, Evgeny Malkin has always been a bit mistake prone, right? But it's not Malkin. It's the same power play getting flat-footed. It's the same wingers watching a guy go to the net and everyone just kind of staring. it's the same turnovers, I suppose. I get the frustration on that. I don't think changing coaches is going to solve those problems. I do think changing a few players is what is necessary at this point. Okay, so from PPG Paints Arena, I am Dan Kingerski. Like, subscribe, and help out the cause on Pittsburgh Hockey Now. I appreciate y'all. We will talk on Wednesday. It's a really big day, as we do find. I think Kyle Dubas is going to tell us on Wednesday where the Penguins are headed. And Houston, prepare for bad news. I'm Dan Kingerski, Pittsburgh Hockey Now, National Hockey Now YouTube channel.